Oh, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. With me, your host Owen. No, sorry, not the team, the channel even that brings you your team every single day. Well, if you want that fix, if you need your Glasgow Rangers fix, then you need to hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and if you give the video a like, guys, it does help out. You can also join the channel, become a member of Glasgow Rangers Nation, become a Glasgow Rangers Nation loyal. The join button is just below the video, or if you go onto the channel page, you can also join on there after that you have subscribed to the channel. Guys, we are growing absolutely fantastically well. Just your support has been absolutely phenomenal, and both Victoria and myself have been absolutely blown away by the support that we have received from the Glasgow Rangers family. Well, we're going to talk about a number of things today in our morning video, in our morning news video. We're going to talk a little bit about Cyriel Dessers, the striker from Cremonese, who continues to be linked with the club. We're going to talk about Sam Lammers, another striker that has been linked with the club. I did release a video on him last night. I've done a little bit more looking, a little bit more of a research, a bit dig around about Lammers, a bit more information to bring to you. We're also going to talk about Josh Maja, again, another striker that has been linked with the club. Obviously, as we know, Rangers need strikers. We need strikers that are going to score us 20 to 25, 25 to 30 goals a season. And Rangers have been linked with multiple strikers, as we know, this summer. Many different names have taken up many column inches and obviously have been linked with the club. We're also going to talk a little bit about Victoria's favourite, Mr. Hagi, Ianis Hagi, and his future at the club, and what Alan Hutton's been having to say about Ianis and his future. And I also want to talk a little bit as well about the work of the Rangers Youth Development Company and talk about Rangers Lotto and Museum Lotto, as well as the Benevolent Fund as well at the end of the video, guys. I'd be really grateful if you can hang on for that. We are looking for people to go and support Rangers Lotto. Remember, if you buy a Lotto ticket, you get a chance to win some money, but more importantly, you get a chance to put money into our club and help our youth system. Guys, we don't want to let that lot from across the city beat us on the amount of money that we put into our Lotto. They put in a lot more than us at this present moment in time. Bit of a challenge for you guys. Can you match that? Can you beat that? I'm going to quickly show you it on the website. I'm actually going to go over to the website now as we speak and have a quick look at the website. So if you want to play the Lotto, Rangers Lotto, it is really easy to do. You go to Rangers Youth Development, rydc.co.uk. You go to play Lotto. You can also buy the bricks there as well. There's the Union Jackpot. There's a chance to donate to support the Youth Academy. You click on Rangers Lotto, go onto there, and then all you need to do is then follow the instructions and you can get yourself involved with the club, involved with the Rangers Lotto scheme. There we go. Scroll down. Still only £1. Bargain, guys. £1. Click here to sign up, and you just sign up, and you therefore get a chance to, play along and give money to the Youth Academy to help us bring through players the likes of Alex Lowry, Adam Devine, Leon King, Bailey Rice, Zach Lovelace, all those players. All the money goes to support that youth development program, as Colin Stewart spoke about on the podcast the other night. Well, let's get on with the transfer news now, the speculation. Again, guys, I know, it's speculation, it's rumour, it's all up in the air. As I said on the podcast on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember when I did that podcast, every man, his dog, his cat, his hamster, his goldfish, his auntie's budgerigar are being linked with the club. And that's going to happen because everyone knows we need strikers. And Michael Beale was obviously out in Italy. We know that Beale went to Italy, and so strikers that are based in Italy are going to be linked. And the Italian media is full of column inches to do with Rangers going after strikers that have been relegated to Serie B. It does seem to be a trend that is emerging. Lammers relegated with Sampdoria to Serie B, even though he is owned by Atalanta. Cyriel Dessers, Cremonese player, relegated to Serie B. Obviously, all there, and potential. Obviously, Josh Maja as well, a potential another one as well who could potentially be playing in the French second division. Perhaps it seems a bit of a modus operandi for Beale. Anyway, you know what? We can criticise the players, we can criticise their records, we can criticise their stats. But I once heard a great quote by I can't remember whether it's Barry Ferguson or Chris Boyd or an ex-Rangers player anyway, who said that, you know what, stats don't really matter when it comes to the SPL and it comes to the old firm game. Your stats can show you everything, but you know what, if they can't cope with the 1,000 miles an hour and the physicality and the rough and tumble of the SPL and the old firm game, then they can have the best stats in the world. They can be the best players in the world. But if they can't cope with that, they're not worth having at the club. And you know what? No matter who we sign, what their past record may be, we'll get behind them, won't we? They're Rangers players. The moment they put on that blue shirt, we have to get behind our players. That's what we do. We love our club. We love our players. And yeah, we're critical at times. Of course we are. But at the end of the day, we want the best for the club. We want the best for the players. So let's talk a little bit about Cyriel Dessers. First of all, obviously, there's been a lot of column inches dedicated to Dessers from Cremonese. Obviously, had a really good record at Feyenoord. That's obviously where it's felt that he really did show up well. 10 goals in the Europa Conference League. Now, I know we can argue that the Europa Conference League is not the strongest European competition, which we know, of course, it isn't. The Europa League is stronger, the Champions League is stronger, but by the same token, you've only got to look at obviously the joy in the West Ham faces the other night as they won. Feyenoord, how disappointed they were to lose out to Mourinho's Roma. At the end of the day, you've got to look at that. Now, Dessers, as I mentioned on my video the other day, is a physical centre forward. He's not exactly quick. He's physical. He uses his body to good effect. He holds up the ball. He brings others into play. He had a good scoring record at Feyenoord. He's not had the best of scoring records this season, as we know. But then again, I suppose we've got to take that with a pinch of salt because Cremonese were relegated and were an exceptionally poor team. Obviously, there are a lot of questions about him. But, Michael Beale does seem to be interested in him. However, as I said on the short that I released yesterday evening, Rangers have had an initial £3 million bid for Dessers rejected, according to Italian media. Now, there was obviously an awful lot of speculation about Dessers. £6 million was allegedly the asking price for Dessers. That is what Cremonese paid for him, as obviously they seek to get their money back. There was, of course, an awful lot of negotiation and change of details in the story. With bids obviously been passed around, and the fact that the figure that Cremonese would accept has obviously changed numerous times according to the media or wherever you read it. It's ranged anything from 3.6 to 4.5 million, but it's felt that Cremonese are obviously looking for an increased bid over and above the 3 million Rangers initially bid for him. Now it obviously remains to be seen whether Rangers will go back in for Dessers or whether they will, as they did with Palmer, close the case and say no more money than that. That is when all we're prepared to offer. Is it that we've got set valuations on players and we're not prepared to go above that, and we're very loath to anyway? Or is this kind of like an open negotiating technique, the same way that you might do if you're haggling the price on a house or something like that? So down here in England, that's what we do. I'm not quite sure how the Scottish housing market works. I know it works differently to ours, but we go in with a slightly lower offer below the asking price to try and get a bit of a bargain. And sometimes we have to go up to the asking price, if we really do want that property. And at the end of the day, that's what Rangers could be doing in the case of Dessers, starting off at a bit of a bargain price, trying to get a bit of a bargain, but then obviously going up to the asking price eventually. And it is apparently rumoured that Rangers are still negotiating with Cremonese to secure the services of Dessers. Now, yesterday I brought you news of, and it was a phenomenal response to the video. Thank you so much for that to Sam Lammers. Now, Sam Lammers is somebody who certainly divides opinion. Now, Erik ten Hag, the current Manchester United manager, speaks exceptionally highly of Lammers. He talks about him in glowing terms, more based on his time in Holland, obviously, rather than his time in Italy, which was not or is not going very well at all. Now, Italy is certainly a hit and miss kind of league, isn't it? It is a very much hit and miss league. Now, multiple media sources, the Record, the Glasgow Times, the Sun Sport, this is Ibrox Noise, Ibrox News, are all reporting that Rangers are apparently very, very interested in Lammers and are keen to get the deal over the line as soon as possible. Apparently, their bid is 3 million for the 26-year-old Dutchman. Now, apparently, Beale has been impressed by Lammers after being alerted to his availability during his time at Sampdoria. Although quite what he's been impressed at, I'm not really sure, because he hasn't been that great at Sampdoria, and we'll see his stats in a minute. It's believed that a deal around 3 million would be enough to tempt the Italians to part company with the striker, who cost 8 million 3 years ago. He has had 3 loan spells during his time at Atalanta, as you can see from this graphic. He's been on loan to Eintracht Frankfurt and was on the bench when we played Eintracht in that Europa League final. He's also been loaned to Empoli, as you've seen there, and Sampdoria. His record, his stats record is not great, is it? You look at that stats record: 1 goal in 15 appearances at Eintracht, 1 goal in 14 appearances at Empoli, 1 goal in 11 appearances at Samp, and only 2 goals in 17 appearances for Atalanta. So, you look at that, you look at the raw stats, that's 5 goals in the last 3 years. Not the most impressive. You go back to his time at Heerenveen. He did exceptionally well at Heerenveen, scoring 16 goals in 31 games. And during his time at Heerenveen, it was then that he drew the praise from Erik Ten Hag. Ten Hag complimenting him on his style, his technical ability. And that's one of the things, even though he is a big guy, 6'3", he is seen as having good technical ability, good on the ground, good in the air. That's what he's been described as. Now, he's been described as, I think, what's that footballing analogy, having happy feet for a big man. I think it was a Peter Reedism that was. During his time at Heerenveen, he did actually draw similarities to Marco van Basten. Now, that is high praise indeed. Van Basten, before his injury, was one of the best strikers in world football, and certainly during his time in Italy was an absolute roaring success at AC Milan. Yes, guaranteed, he did have Ruud Gullit, Dimitri Albertini, Roberto Donadoni, Paolo Maldini, Carlo Ancelotti in the same team as him, which obviously does help matters. But Lammers, is someone who in the past has done okay. 16 goals in 31, 4 in 20 for PSV, 30 in 63 for young PSV. His Dutch record in Holland, obviously was what tempted Atalanta to pay the 8 million for him. And, some people feel that, Michael Beale likes a bit of a reclamation project. He likes a player that perhaps has done well in the past and trying to sort of knock off the dirt and knock off and get the paint out and restore that player to his former glories, like you would restore a former masterpiece to its former glory. And some people feel that Lammers could be that type of player that Beale wants to restore to his former glory. At the end of the day, we've got to trust the manager. He's done a good job with Raskin, with Cantwell. We don't obviously know about the signing of Sterling, Dowell, and Butland, all good players. They certainly do. But in terms of Dessers and Lammers, which does sound like some sort of legal firm, we do need to, I think, perhaps trust the manager's judgment on this one. And if there is any truth in these stories that are coming out of Italy, the truth that Rangers are bidding sums of money for these players, that Michael Beale knows what he's doing, and that we put our faith in him. And that's what we've got to do, I suppose. You've got to put your faith in the boss. He certainly proved so far that he's got a good eye for a player with the work he's done bringing in Raskin and Cantwell. But, like I said, stats only show so much. They don't show the off-the-ball stuff. They don't show the technical ability. They don't show the skill of the player. We've got to look at that. We've got to try and think positively about this. I know as a fan base, you look at stats. I know that, and I get it. Look, I'm as guilty of that as anybody. When these two players came out, I'm just as bad as anyone. Oh my God, they'll score goals. We need a 20-25 goal a season, man. These are not it. Oh, this is awful. What are the club thinking? What's Michael Beale thinking? It's a disaster. It's how we react, isn't it? It's totally how we react. That's what fans do. We all react like that, and you know what? We've got to get a bit of what's the word? I can't think of the word. It's late. It's been a long day. I know it's early morning. We're passionately picking this video, but I do record it the night before. But yeah, we've got to get a sense of realism in this, haven't we? That's kind of what I'm thinking here with these two. And we reserve judgment. Obviously, wait to see if they're any good. Look, don't watch YouTube clips. YouTube clips can make anyone look good. You know what? They could probably make me look good, as a footballer. But we've got to obviously reserve judgment. We've got to go with what Michael Beale sees, with what the scouting team see, and go with their judgment on these matters with these players. Now, one player, obviously, another striker who has been heavily linked with a move to Rangers is Josh Maja, the striker from Girondins de Bordeaux, who have been playing in League 2. Now, I know that there's been an awful lot of rumours saying, obviously, that Bordeaux are not going to get promoted and Maja's going to be available on a free, yada, yada, yada. However, it is actually not confirmed yet as to whether Bordeaux are going to be promoted or not. Now, apparently what happened at their final game of the season was abandoned when a supporter came onto the pitch and attacked one of the opposition players. This led to the game being abandoned. Now, this obviously means that the game will most likely be replayed. So nothing is set in stone as regards Bordeaux's future, which obviously delays any deal for Maja. Now, Beale did talk about the fact that deals may be delayed, didn't he, in that press conference, and that whilst he wants players in by the end of June to link up the team ready for pre-season, he says there's one or two others that we may need to be a little bit more patient on. Was he referencing Josh Maja there? Who knows? But, it certainly seems that because of what that incident that happened during the Bordeaux game, that any deal for Maja will be delayed, as obviously they wait to find out what is happening with Bordeaux. If they were to beat Rodé and by a certain, I don't know what the scoreline needs to be. They could still be promoted, which would then possibly lead to Bordeaux taking up that year option on Maja's contract, which would make it a whole different matter and make him quite an expensive player to go after, given his excellent record in French football. So the whole Maja thing, I think, is very much on hold at this moment in time, and we do have to wait and see what is going on with Josh Maja. There is obviously a situation there that needs to be investigated, but it will take time for us to find out all the details about Maja and whether or not we can still sign him. So let's hold off on any speculation about Josh Maja. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Victoria's favourite, Victoria's pin-up. Let's talk about Mr. Ianis Hagi. Victoria, you may not want to watch this bit of the video, so if you're watching at home, please perhaps go make a cup of tea or something like that. Now, obviously, Ianis Hagi has been linked with a move away from Rangers this summer, with even his dad talking about how playing in Spain might be better for Ianis. Ianis is not the fastest of players, but he is very technically gifted, and obviously was recently called up to the Romania squad. Now, Hagi, perhaps that slower style of football that they play in Spain may better suit Ianis and be more at home. And obviously Celta Vigo have expressed an interest in signing the player. Now, obviously Ianis has missed an awful lot of time this season with obviously that knee injury and has taken times to rebuild and bring his career back online. And certainly, there's emotional scenes we saw in that game at Hibernian, when he scored that goal and kind of broke down, didn't he? As he said, the last 15 months came back to him in that moment. Now, many people believe, however, that, give Ianis a full pre-season, give him an opportunity to get back to full fitness, get back in, obviously get in with the new players, that he can be a fundamental part of Michael Beale's plans for the new season due to the talent that he has and the skill that he has, in his passing range and his understanding of the game. Now, Alan Hutton, obviously, who played 6 years for Rangers, reckons that Michael Beale is a huge fan of the Romanian playmaker and does want to keep him at the club, especially next season. This is what Hutton had to say to Football Insider that he was speaking to. He said, he's suited to where he is. It's been a difficult time for him. He's been out for a long period with a very serious injury. Yes, the Scottish Premiership is very aggressive, especially when you were away from home. The Spanish league, I have played in it, and I know it is like what it's like. It's very technical. There is not so much contact, and his style would certainly suit that. It is a little bit slower as well. I think it's probably the one thing he is missing to make him that elite player is a bit of pace. And I think that's obviously one thing that he is missing. He hasn't got burning pace. He isn't particularly fast, and that perhaps is obviously stopping him from making that jump from being a good player to being an outstanding player. Of course, it will suit him, but I think Beale likes him and wants to keep him within the squad. It is different if he is unhappy. We'll have to see after pre-season where his head is at. Certainly, from what Ianis has been saying and how Ianis has been talking, Ianis does seem particularly happy to stay at Rangers, does want to play, does want to fight for his place, and have the opportunity to impress next season, as he rebuilds from that injury and obviously repays the faith that Rangers put in him and the rehab work that the club did with him to get him back to full fitness. Okay, last couple of things there. Now moving on in our last video, obviously, as I mentioned yesterday, it was released yesterday that Rangers will play Hoffenheim in Germany. Rangers will make a trip to the Pre-Zero Arena to kick off at 3:30 local time. That's German time for their final pre-season fixture before the Scottish Premiership campaign commences. They're obviously heading out to Germany to take on Hoffenheim of the Bundesliga. Fantastic announcement. Great to go out to Germany. Great place to watch football. And no doubt Rangers will head off to Hoffenheim and more than double their population at that time. Hoffenheim is actually a very small village. They moved down the road near to another small village and a small town, which is still very small. I think the town is about 30,000, and I can see at least 30,000 Rangers fans heading out there and perhaps doubling the population of the town even for a short time. Okay, guys, final piece of news from me this morning is just to talk a little bit about, obviously, I talked at the start about the Rangers Lotto. I just want to mention the Rangers Former Players Benevolent Fund. Before anyone says, look, the Rangers Players Benevolent Fund, Rangers are, players are millionaires, players get loads of money, players are, all that. One thing to say about that is, yes, modern players, I 100% agree. Modern players earn an insane amount of money. Of course they do. But players from the past, players from that 72 team that won the Cup Winners' Cup, for example, they are, they're not wealthy. They're not rich. Those guys, a lot of those guys had jobs whilst they were at Rangers. And, some of them struggle now, and the Benevolent Fund supports those players that, do struggle. Those players have had to sell their medals or sell their shirts or sell their mementos of their career to try and survive, post football. I think a lot of us don't remember that in the past, football was nowhere near as lucrative as it is today. So, if you want to donate some money to help the former Rangers Benevolent Club Fund, then head over to this website here, Rangers Former Players Benevolent Club. On the closing credits of the video, you'll see it. It's rfpbc.org if you want to donate and you want to give to the Benevolent Fund. Okay, guys, head over, hit the donate button and support our former players, obviously, who gave so much for us. Like I said, it's not the modern players who were obviously earn a large sum of money, and it is mentioned on the closing credits of this video. Well, guys, once again, thank you for watching our daily news video. A bit of a longer one this morning. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and if you can give the video a like, I really would appreciate it. Remember, guys, as always, we are the people.